Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our service this morning. My name is Reverend Joanna Drewry. I'm the Associate Minister at the Center for Spiritual Living, Victoria. And these days, like all churches, we're meeting virtually every Sunday. So thank you for joining us, and I hope that you will enjoy the service this morning. And this morning, our opening treatment will be given by Lesia Kohut, who is a practitioner studying to become a religious science minister. And so I welcome Lesia to do our opening treatment.
Good morning, everyone. I just invite you to close your eyes or lower your gaze if it feels comfortable. Allow yourself to just be nourished by a big, big life-affirming breath in. And as you exhale, just release everything that has come before this moment, right here, right now. And so in this moment that is so new, so fresh, so unique unto itself, I am so grateful to be here right now. I am so grateful to know that in this moment and all moments, there is only one thing that is ever going on. This power, this presence, this brilliant energy, this divine flow that is always, always in play. This is the very essence, the very foundation, the very core of all that is. And not only do I know this truth for myself, I know this for every single individual in this service today. And so I am so grateful to know and to feel this incredible presence, to feel this divine flow making its way through my entire being, activating and animating every single cell, every single system, every single organ, making its way and having its way through and as me. And knowing that everyone and everything is interconnected, I know this very same thing for everyone that is here today, everyone that is watching the recording down the road. And so I am so grateful to know that as this time today unfolds, as this service and celebration unfolds, it does so as the fulfillment of this very presence, of this divine flow, this cosmic intelligence, this infinite vitality and potentiality. And so I am so grateful to know that Reverend Rachel's meditation today on the first two steps of spiritual mind treatment is one of those amazing, beautiful, brilliant steps in this incredible unfoldment and unfurlment of this time together. And I also know that every single thought, every single word, every single wisdom and insight that is in Reverend Joanna's talk today about creating our good, about how we use our minds, about how right thinking is the key to expressing the most desirable, most amazing, engaging, fulfilling life possible, that everything is already making its way forward. Everything is already bubbling up to the surface, and everything that wants to be known, to be shared, to be rediscovered, to be released, all of it is already happening right here, right now. So for everything that is making its way forward, for everything that is yet to come, I am so grateful knowing that today's celebration is already a fully orbed, fully realized, brilliant, successful, done deal in universal mind. And in that gratitude, I simply release my powerful, creative, definitive word as law, knowing all of this to be done, all of this to be true, all of this to be what is happening right here and right now. I simply release, I let go, and I just allow for this beautiful brilliance, this fantastical creativity, this infinite divine flow, as I invite everyone to affirm with me by saying, and so it is. And now, Reverend Joanna, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Lesia. Thank you. That was a lovely opening treatment. Thank you very much. So my talk today is titled Creating Good. And we're still really focusing on the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes. And I thought this was a topic that is ever useful to all of us. And as I write these talks, I write them for myself as much as for anyone else, let me tell you. It's always good to be reminded of these truths. So, creating your good. How do we create our good? We create it through our thinking. Well, you may ask, what prompts me to think? What do I usually think about? Today, much of what we dwell on is fed to us through the media. In recent weeks, we've been witness to a riotous mob storming the Capitol building of the United States, a pandemic that is still raging around the world, and in the US and parts of Canada, the situation appears pretty dire. This past week, there was the introduction of a new administration in the United States that has brought with it a plan to set a new and healing path forward for that country, and I would argue for the world. Meanwhile, scenes of illness and death and extreme hardship are visible to us every day through the television. I admit it's not easy to keep our thinking focused on the positive, as we are caught up in the emotions of fear and worry around the state of the world and the continuing pandemic. I believe it's Reverend Carey who has said several times, "I see the news as the basis for my daily prayer." And really, that is the secret. As we keep going back to the truth principles, we can keep our thought grounded and not be swept up in fear. Our work in prayer and meditation is to remember the truth of who we are, and that the unfolding of events in our own lives is the outpicturing of our thinking. As we consciously shape the content of our lives, we shift our focus from negative images and ideas that are externally provided to us. There is no need to buy into negativity, fear, and that you can't do that attitude. Guard your own thoughts and keep moving forward. Those who succeed at achieving their dreams are those who think past fear. There are countless stories of people overcoming obstacles to achieve greatness in their chosen fields. Their path forward evolves through their vision and commitment to a goal, not being daunted by appearances that would say it can't be done. Newly elected President Joe Biden is a wonderful example of this. As many of you may know, he was a stutterer and worked for many years to overcome that disability. As a young man, he was deeply moved by John Kennedy's inaugural speech. He decided to learn what careers presidents of the United States had followed and discovered that many of them had been lawyers. He told his close friends that he was going to be president. He studied law, became a lawyer, and was elected to the Senate at a very young age. Through his life, he overcame many personal tragedies, including the death in a car accident of his first wife and their little daughter, and more recently, the death of his beloved son, Beau, who was widely believed to be someone who could also rise politically and possibly be president himself. Through all of his lengthy career, Joe Biden served in the Senate and twice ran for president, eventually becoming vice president under President Obama. One would think that this gentleman with such a distinguished career would not need to consider running for president a third time. But when he saw the carnage of the riot in Charlottesville, where blacks were beaten, he could not stand it, and he decided to run again. In a huge field of candidates, he gradually became the front runner, and then, with the support of all his Democratic opponents, was elected president. He is 78 years old, a seasoned, widely respected politician. He did not have to do this job. He chose to do it in order to make a difference. And against many odds, he has fulfilled his dream of becoming president. And he's chosen a brilliant woman to be his vice president, Kamala Harris, the first woman to be elected to high office in the US, a woman of color. She is a beacon of hope for the millions of girls and women who see possibility for their own dreams to be realized in watching her achievements. Now, we are often persuaded that our lives are shaped by circumstances beyond our control. We may think that success is dependent on good luck or having rich parents or a good education. While all these things may appear to be helpful, the truth is still that we each create our good. Among the many stories of people rising from seemingly impossible situations to develop rich, fulfilling lives, one of the most powerful stories is that of the life of Louise Hay, the brilliant religious science practitioner and writer who founded Hay House Publishing. She was raised in a home where her stepfather ruled with violence, mental cruelty, and sexual abuse. Louise was molested by a neighbor when she was 5, dropped out of high school, and ran away from home at 15. At 16, she gave up her newborn baby for adoption. She made her way to New York City, where she became a fashion model, and in 1954, she married Andrew Hay, a successful businessman. After 14 years of marriage, he left her for another woman. Louise, in despair, walked into the 48th Street First Church of Religious Science in New York City and recalls that someone told her, "If you can change your thinking, you can change your life." I'm sure this sounds very familiar to all of us, as that's what our banners say at the center when we're there. Her studies of religious science opened up a new world for her. She developed cervical cancer later in life and went on a further journey of discovery to heal the lingering anger and resentment from her childhood. She wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life, in 1984, and by 2010, it had sold over 40 million copies. In the 80s, when the AIDS epidemic was at its height, Louise started a support group for people living with the disease. The group began with 6 men meeting in her living room and grew to 850 men who called themselves the Hayride, and they met in a very large Hollywood theater. She asked the group to work on focusing on forgiveness, releasing resentment, and loving themselves. She appeared on Oprah Winfrey in 98, and her message was simple: love yourselves and love others. Today, Hay House has offices around the world. The mission is to help people improve the quality of their lives. It's interesting, when Louise was asked what her goals were, she said, "I don't do goals. I just see what today brings, and that seems to work for me. I enjoy whatever presents itself, and I'm open. I find that when I need things in life, they come to me. Whether it is a bit of information about health, a book, or another new idea, life brings it to me. When you are attuned to your connection and in the flow of giving and receiving, the universe takes care of everything else." She also said that life had taught her that the events we might not understand at the time we are living through them may yield greater experiences. Sometimes things are meant to end. If we do not end them, life will end them for us. It is not a bad thing. It is an opportunity. We create our good. How do we do this? We do it through thought, through our thought. How is this possible? Ernest Holmes tells us there is no such thing as your mind, my mind, and God's mind. There is only mind, in which we all live and move and have our being. Holmes goes on to tell us things are ideas in form. What else could they be? There is nothing from which to make things except ideas. In the beginning, we behold nothing visible. There is only an infinite possibility, a limitless imagination, a consciousness, the only action of the consciousness being idea. Our creative powers are limitless. Our thought is more creative than we are aware. As a student of science of mind, you will probably be familiar with the concept of the universal subjective mind. This is the mind that is entirely receptive to our thought, and as Holmes tells us, acts upon it, no matter what the thought may be. Holmes goes on to explain that if, for example, you have the thought of poverty year after year, the condition of poverty simply continues to perpetuate itself. If I hold to that thought, the law will be working to make it so. The choice to make a conscious change in my thought is what is needed. Holmes suggests a conscious statement that I partake of the nature and bounty of the all good, and I am now surrounded by everything which makes life worthwhile. I thought it would be good for us to say that together. If you'd like to say that aloud with me, I partake of the nature and bounty of the all good, and I am now surrounded by everything which makes life worthwhile. Holmes writes that we must know definitely and consistently that the universe is for us and not against us. But someone may say, the universe is not for us. Look at the evil, the limitation, lack, and physical pain and anguish of the human race. And Holmes reminds us of this. We have to learn that evil is neither person, place, nor thing of itself, but is an experience which we are allowed to have because of our divine individuality until through negative experiences, we learn to use the law affirmatively, to cooperate with it, law, spirit, universal consciousness, and thus enjoy its full benefits. And here's the nub of this truth. Holmes reminds us that if we take our images of thought only from previous experiences, then we continue in the bondage that these previous experiences created. And he adds, if we talk about discord, we shall become more discordant. The more the world arms for war, the more certain it is that there will be war. People who spend all their time talking about their unhappiness become more unhappy. The law of cause and effect runs through everything. And he tells us we are not punished for our sins, but by them. He reminds us that evil is simply a misuse of the law of freedom. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson who wrote that we animate what we see, and we see what we animate. This means that as we become more and more aware of the divine that is expressing in, as, and through us at every moment, we truly recognize that this divine animates all that we see and experience. As humans, we've been given the power of decision, will, choice, volition, intellect, and purpose. When we think of our spirit as being part of the universal consciousness, we know that what knowledge we receive comes from the divine center of all knowledge. Holmes tells us that our outward life is a result of the subjective state of our thought. And we know that no matter what may be in the subjective state of our thought, our conscious state can change it. Through spiritual mind treatment, through our own thinking and expanding awareness of your own spiritual essence, you create your good. What we hold in our subconscious mind is what shows up in our lives. Einstein told us that we can't solve our problems. with the same consciousness that created them. I recently was sent a quote that I'd like you to take away with you today. It takes the same amount of energy to worry as it does to pray. One leads to panic and the other leads to peace. You always have the power to choose. Know that you always have the power to create your good. Namaste. So I would like to simply remind you that we do have a website where, should you wish to make a donation to continue the support of our center, and our Reverend Carrie, who is our full-time minister, we would very much appreciate your support at this time, should you wish to do that. And we do not have the capacity to have music during these services, but I want to thank Darlene for all the wonderful music she's given us over the past year, and to thank Lesia for all her technical support in making it possible for us to be here virtually today and every Sunday. And thank Rachel for her continuing support and for her lovely, oops, she just got bitten by somebody or scratched. She's nodding her head. Oh dear, cats. You never know what they're going to do next. And thank you all for being here today. Thank you for taking the time on this Sunday morning to join us. And so now I'll do a closing treatment, and if there's a little time at the end, we can perhaps have another chat. So I invite you to just know with me that God is truly all there is. The divine is ever present, ever with us, ever guiding us, ever available to us. And that relationship is one that each of us can cultivate through prayer and meditation, through consciously remembering the truth of who we are, spirit in form. Consciously knowing that we are each little unique bits of God stuff, here on purpose, part of that great one universal whole that is perfect, whole, and complete. And as I know that God is everywhere present, I know that health, abundance, joy, peace, love, those essential God qualities are everywhere present in each of us. Those are the foundation stones of our lives, and we can keep in constant touch with them by turning within and remembering who we are. Spirit God is ever present, ever creating our good. And through the power of our individual creative thought, we have been gifted the capacity to shape our lives and to reach whatever goals we set for ourselves, if they're grounded in being within the scope of goodness, grounded within the power of love, grounded within the power of givingness, kindness, and making a better world. I give thanks for these teachings. I give thanks for our community and for this day when we are able to be together. I release my word to spirit, to the law, knowing it is so, and so it is.